Coming up next, folks, it's the Pro Wrestling Report Prime Time. We're live here on Monday, March 30th, 2020. So much to get to. A full preview begins tonight of WWE Wrestlemania, Saturday and Sunday. We're going to take a look at the women's matchups tonight. We've got hot news, including Roman Reigns responding to the haters. You're definitely going to want to hear that. And of course, your comments and questions as we are live here tonight on Fight. We are joined by our associates tonight, Jason, Josh, and Drew. This guy, David Herro, is here as well. And ain't no time but the right time, which is now, to say that the Pro Wrestling Report Prime Time starts right now. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report Primetime Live, Monday, March 30th, 2020. WrestleMania week begins. I'm Dameon Nelson, sitting alongside David, the Octavius, the Tiberius, the Backyard, one-time knockout, straight edge, hardcore. No, he's not a model. Hall of Famer, Herro. How the heck are you, David?
It's Monday.
It is Monday.
How could it not be? Well, I mean, it feels like Thursday. What is it, like the 87th of May?
You can't get your days right. What do you mean it feels like Thursday? It feels like Monday because
It's
it
like
is Monday.
the
Calendar says
87th
Monday.
of May. This month has gone on forever. Forever, ever.
It's March.
Exactly. It's been forever. It feels like it's May 87.
Folks, we are live on Fight TV. Thank you for joining us on our premier broadcast partner, but we're also live across our social media channels, including Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitter, and Twitch. What's your favorite platform, David, for streaming public videos?
I like all of them. I do not discriminate.
I didn't ask you all that. I just asked what's your favorite platform. You Twitch? Do you play the PlayStation?
No. That's more
Sega
Cal's
Genesis?
gimmick.
You still have a Dreamcast.
I still have my Super Nintendo. Baseball Stars, the best game of all time.
Mike Tyson's knockout was the best.
That was pretty sweet, too.
All time. So, folks, if you're watching us on YouTube, do us a favor right now before we get into the action here. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, and also make sure you turn on your notifications because we are going to be live all week long, and we've got some special and new programming planned for you as well. More on that later. We're bringing more to the community, David.
We have a ton of great stuff this week. Like I think you've outdone yourself. I mean, I didn't agree to all these extra shows, but it's been pretty sweet. It's been pretty awesome.
Your contract is not only ironclad, but it allows full creative control by yours truly.
Which I had no idea. When you said check the fine print, I didn't have my glasses. I can't see.
Well, you're not wearing them now either.
But I'm not reading anything.
Folks, we're going to be taking your comments all night long. They're already coming in here on in the control room. Beans E Entertainment. It's primetime, baby. Hope everyone is doing well. Well, we are doing it well here. Doing it and doing it and doing it well. We're doing it and doing it and doing
This
it
is
well.
a family show.
Is that not a family song?
I don't think so. It doesn't sound like a family show.
It sounds like a family show, but it does sound like a family song. What's the question?
We'll have to ask Cal.
We'll have to do that. Folks, we are not alone here tonight. We are joined by our associates all over the United States. We've got Josh Shernoff, so says Shernoff, with us as well. Drew Baydala. Baydala is with us as well. And joining us here for the first time on Primetime, we're pleased to welcome one Jason Solomon of the Solomonster Sounds Off podcast. Jason, how the hell are you tonight?
I'm doing great. You know, I got to agree with David. I was an SNES guy myself, so we're on the same wavelength there. So it's good to be with you.
Well, thank you for joining us. Very honored to have you along with us. We'll talk more about the Solomonster Sounds Off podcast later on here in this broadcast as well. But folks, let's get right down to it. It's tonight's top story. I cut myself off there. Got excited. Ready to go. It's Wrestlemania. It's time to talk about the matches. And there are so many, I believe 16 of them, as currently announced.
There's 16 matches?
Yeah, let's do 8 a night. 8 on Saturday, 8 on Sunday.
How many hours are they going to go?
It's currently scheduled to go 3 hours a night.
There's no way. There's no way they'll get... Well, they can. They can edit everything in.
Did you watch WrestleMania 32 on ESPN last night?
No, I watched WrestleMania 18 on the network last night.
Why didn't you watch WrestleMania 32, the epic from Dallas?
Because the greatest match of all time is Hulk Hogan versus The Rock.
So that's our reaction topic for tomorrow.
Oh. Whoops.
Spoiler.
Sweet God Almighty! I
Was
really
there a run
wish.
sheet?
Yeah, it sure was. So WrestleMania, folks. Let's talk about it, and I want to hear.
Well, it's my favorite match of all time.
Want to hear from the associates
else's.
as well as we go around and look at this tonight. We're going to be looking at the women's matchups, which include some title matchups, some multi-gal matchups, and more. And there are many of them, and they are evolving and have evolved. As you know, WrestleMania was taped last week, and we're going to watch it this weekend, Saturday and Sunday on pay-per-view and the WWE Network.
And on Fight TV, isn't it?
No. Not yet.
Oh. Whoops.
So we are live, and I always second guess whether or not I should have put a live microphone on his lapel. The first match we're going to talk about, folks, it's Shayna Baszler versus Becky Lynch. This match for the Raw Women's Championship. The man, Becky Lynch, going up against the prodigy, I guess you could call her, Shayna Baszler. David, we'll get to your thoughts later. This match, I've got to say, from my standpoint, Becky Lynch has been fizzling a little bit as of late. I mean, how long? You asked the question, David Herro, which is valid. How long can you be so angry? And is she the female version of Steve Austin? Nope. People have anointed her that. I don't see it. I don't understand it. It feels forced with her. Never felt forced with Austin. But this match will be great. You got two heavy hitters, two hard hitters going after it for the Women's Championship. We want to hear your thoughts in the lounge, and that means all of our social media channels. So keep those comments coming. Who do you think wins, and why do you want to see this matchup? But before we get to your comments, let's go around to the associates all over the world and all over the United States at least. And Drew, let's start with you, because that rhymes. Shayna Baszler, Becky Lynch. The Raw Women's Championship. What are you looking for in this match?
Well, I'm looking for Shayna's coming out party. I think this is her match to lose. I think I do agree. Becky Lynch has lost a little bit of steam, but I think that has to do with there's really no crowd for her, and she does feed off that, and the crowd goes nuts for her. But I think that whole gimmick has ran its course a little bit. But I am looking forward to see how Shayna does in this big time match.
Who wins?
I'm gonna go with Baszler. But they can't squash Becky because it'll just diminish everything they've done.
Really?
If it was anybody else, I'd say it'd be a squash match. Quick.
What am I missing about Shayna Baszler? What am I missing? I'm just not seeing it.
She could throw anybody on this panel through a wall. So.
Well,
hey,
not
speak
me.
for yourself, kid.
Leave Josh out of this.
All right.
Not me. I'd run so quickly she couldn't catch me.
I'm not knocking her. Maybe I just haven't been exposed enough. I just don't. I don't see what all the hype is, to be honest with you. She's great. She's fantastic.
She's real. She's real.
She's real? Real like Becky?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
No,
like,
she's a fighter.
I'm not sitting here saying that Becky can't fight, but I mean, like, Shayna Baszler can fight. She's almost Ronda. You know what I'm saying? She's got that legitimacy next to her, and I think the office loves that.
What does Josh Shernoff have to say about Becky Lynch and Shayna Baszler?
More of the same. I think Becky Lynch, it's tired. It's not. I haven't for months now. I have not been engaged in her character. Going back honestly to last year's WrestleMania, I felt by the time they got to WrestleMania, she was the least likable out there. I think she is following the traditional heel playbook, but unlike Steve Austin 20 years ago, it's not translating over to being this monster breakthrough anti-heel. It's kind of just annoying. And then, Drew talks about real. That's kind of an issue that I've seen with this story all along, is that Shayna Baszler is seen as real because she is real. And that makes Becky Lynch come off even more as the fake one. Now, I'm not saying she can't. I don't know. In real life, maybe she really can fight, but it's not. It's kind of making it look like everything that she's going to do, any offense that she's going to get on, that Becky Lynch is going to get on Shayna Baszler, is going to be more difficult to believe, because I don't think they've done a very good job of building her up as being as tough as I think maybe they think they have. Shayna Baszler, I think what you're missing is the main roster buildup. They've kind of just gone on this assumption that everybody is overly familiar with her, which I think has hurt NXT call-ups in the past. So I think that's a problem, that they haven't really familiarized their audience with who she is, other than this person who apparently bites people on the neck, which is like not her at all. So
I forgot about the fat
I think, yeah, I think they did too. But I think what's going to happen is I think Shayna Baszler is going to be victorious. The one thing I will say, and this is kind of a blanket statement, so I won't come back to it every other match, but I do feel like with this WrestleMania, if someone wins or someone loses, it's not necessarily who they originally had in mind. I think so much could be changed because they wanted a crowd reaction to something. And that's something we've talked about before with, Drew McIntyre versus Brock Lesnar. What's going to happen there? Will it be as planned because of the lack of crowd reaction? So that's my long-winded thought.
Well, thank you, Josh. And let's go to Jason Solomon. Jason, it's Becky Lynch, the man, versus Shayna Baszler, the count?
The woman, I guess, is what you would call her. I think, Josh made a good point. If you go back to last year's WrestleMania, really it was the story with Ronda that carried her there. And I think she lost a lot of momentum coming out of that. The stuff with Lacey Evans, who just was, I think, pushed too fast too soon, pairing her off with Rollins and all the backlash that came from that. And then she kind of picked up a little steam at the end of the year. She had that great, match at Hell in a Cell with Sasha. I like that they came back to the story with Asuka, who hadn't, she wasn't able to beat Asuka. That was a natural story. So she's definitely lost luster from where she was a year ago. It's been a year. I think, at this point, you've got to shake things up a little bit. Shayna needs a good performance at WrestleMania because the two big matches that she's had really on the main roster, which is Survivor Series, and I would argue even Elimination Chamber, it didn't exactly come off very well. I didn't think those matches were well received. So she's got to go in there. There's going to be pressure on her to have, a memorable match. I think you got to pull the trigger and put the championship on her and build her up as a killer. And to go back to what Drew said, she has a legitimacy to her. But you've got to condition people to understand why that is. They really haven't told you too much about her background.
Yeah. I don't know if they've told us enough at all about her background, but thank you. It sounds like 3 for Baszler there, and it sounds like all of our social interactions are wanting Shayna Baszler to also walk out with the women's championship.
And that's exactly what's going to happen. This is the Rocky 3 match of WrestleMania. This is Clubber Lang against Rocky. You're going to see Clubber Lang, Mr. T. And she is going to pummel and beat and destroy Becky Lynch in this match. Becky will get a few of her, hope spots in there, but it's going to be probably 80% Shayna Baszler, and she's going to leave WrestleMania as the new women's champion, which can then, with a broken soul and spirit, Becky can take some time off, recuperate, come back with that Eye of the Tiger. I'm sure they can do some really cool vignettes of her training and getting her smile back, whatever else, and then have Becky come back at SummerSlam and have the match that they want to have between her and Shayna Baszler.
So you're a Baszler guy too?
Absolutely.
Wow. All right. That's 4 for Baszler.
You have to get the emotion. And the only way to get the emotion and the heat on Shayna Baszler is for her to beat up Becky Lynch.
Well, that should be an interesting matchup. It's going to be a physical matchup for sure, but we are live, folks, and we do have some breaking news broken by All Elite Wrestling, who have announced, and I'll read this as it has come off across the wire, the Associated Press of Wrestling. They have announced a TNT Championship. It's an 8-man tournament that kicks off Wednesday, April 8th, on the weekly Dynamite show on TNT. We'll talk about this more later with the associates in the lounge or in hot news later, but breaking news out of AEW, they've committed weekly Dynamites.
I mean, as far as I know, from everything I've heard, AEW plans on going forward with live TV.
And we do appreciate those efforts and them doing that. But getting back to WrestleMania, which is this weekend on pay-per-view, the next matchup we'd like to talk about is for the NXT Women's Championship. Charlotte will go one-on-one with Rhea Ripley. And this, some people questioning and wondering why. Charlotte had to take the step back, if you will, to NXT. But I think what we're going to see in this match shows us that it's actually going to be a tremendous step forward for the Queen, Charlotte. But gentlemen, what do you think? Charlotte, Rhea Ripley, NXT Championship. It's booked for WrestleMania. Andrew.
Yeah, I think the build for this was far surpassing anything else that they've done in the women's division, and I think that Charlotte's probably going to take the title here, or the championship, and I think that they will move forward with her in a storyline down in NXT, and I'm excited to see where it goes. Charlotte becomes, I think, the only woman in history to have all 3 titles, so I'm excited for it. It's one of the matches I'm looking forward to, and it has a good build, so it should deliver.
Josh Shernoff.
Wasn't Charlotte NXT champion before, or is that considered a different championship?
Sure was.
Yeah, because it's not like a Divas, whatever. So she's already had it. But I think obviously that was a very different NXT than it is now. I think, and a different belt, and everybody likes to collect belts. So I think I see Charlotte winning it. Otherwise, I'm not really entirely sure what the purpose was, other than to have Rhea Ripley beat Charlotte, and then that kind of takes that NXT brand to the next level. So the question to me becomes, what makes that show on Wednesday nights on USA bigger? Is it having the star power of Charlotte, or is it having the person who beat Charlotte at WrestleMania? Honestly, I think having the star power of Charlotte on the show is what's going to draw fans into it. The other is more or less storyline. But either way, I think it'll be all right. But I am going to say that I think Charlotte is going to walk out champion.
All right, 1 for Charlotte. Drew, remind me, who did you pick?
Charlotte.
Charlotte. All right. Can we get a little difference of opinion on this show? I'm sure you'll cover that. 2 for Charlotte. Jason Solomon, what do you think for the NXT Women's Championship?
Yeah, just to the point that Josh made, a minute ago, they had Charlotte wrestling on NXT a number of weeks ago. It didn't seem to make a difference there. I don't think it's going to make much of a difference if they move her onto the show one way or the other. I'm going to go with Rhea. I think Rhea is going to win. I think it's going to be a big moment for her, and it could be a step up to Raw or SmackDown. Not right away. We've seen NXT champions before vacate the title and not drop them and then move. That happened with Asuka. I think we can see something similar with Rhea. Everyone was all in favor of her a few months ago. Her and Adam Cole had an incredible November. I mean, the momentum those two had going into the Survivor Series. So they've got big plans for Rhea, obviously. I think it's just a moment Charlotte doesn't need. Charlotte's had moments. She's going to have more moments. This could be an opportunity for them to, put over kind of the next, I don't want to say the next queen, but clearly, they've got big plans for, I'm sure Charlotte wouldn't want to say that, but I'm going to go with Rhea, and I think that they have bigger aspirations for her maybe sooner than people think. But just to piggyback on what Drew said, it's the one women's match I'm looking forward to on the show. I don't really have a lot of enthusiasm. Yeah, I mean, I don't really have a lot of enthusiasm for the other ones. Becky and Shayna could turn out to be very good. The one that I've been looking forward to is the NXT match.
Well, interesting perspectives. And one thing you said there, Josh, I want to ask Jason, I want to ask everybody to chime in on. You said that it would be a step up to go to the main roster, Raw or SmackDown, from NXT for Rhea Ripley. How? Is that really a step up nowadays?
No. I would never say that. No, see, what
Did I just put words in your mouth?
You did, but that's okay. It's all right. The perception is that when you move to Raw or SmackDown, now you're in the, quote, big leagues. Now, I clearly don't agree with that for a lot of the talent that they've moved up. Some do better than others. And I'm hoping that Rhea will kind of buck the trend and she'll go on to have a great career. But at some point, I would think that Vince McMahon or somebody would look at her and go, hey, we can use her. SmackDown really, I think, could use 1 or 2 new female talents on the show. That could be a landing spot for her. Maybe she could help elevate the women's division on SmackDown. I think she could do more for that division at this point, maybe, than she could the NXT women's division, which is stockpiled with talent.
Yeah.
If I may for a second, though, the way that I see it, it is a step up. I understand that they try to say, no, it's not. And some people will argue that NXT is putting on the better product. And I'm not going to argue that at all. But if you're looking at it based on, there are 2 ways to really view success of a professional wrestler in the short term. One is the amount of money that they're making, but putting that aside, the other one is the stardom, the level of stardom. How many people know who they are? How many people are seeing them? Their celebrity in the wrestling business. So in that case, the numbers alone, Raw would be top. Well, Raw and SmackDown now are basically, give or take, and then NXT is way below them. So in that regard, if you're talking about a chance of becoming a household name or making right your stock in the business, I would say that it is actually a step up to go to Raw and SmackDown, in my opinion.
Okay. David, this is the longest you've been quiet on this show. Rhea Ripley, Charlotte Flair.
They've already told you the story of the match. They've already said, Rhea Ripley has already said that she was being compared to Charlotte from the time she walked in NXT. That she was just like Charlotte, looked just like her, walked like her. Everything was the same, and everything Rhea Ripley has done since then. She changed her look, her style. Obviously, she looks completely different than when she first started. And for her, beating Charlotte is like her Shawn Michaels boyhood dream coming true, where she finally gets out of Charlotte's shadow. And that is the story they're going to be telling. I would be very disappointed if the commentators for that match don't get that point over when Rhea Ripley then finally defeats Charlotte now steps out on her own. 2
for 2, Rhea and Charlotte.
Solomon and I we're nailing this. We got this.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
we're simpatico tonight. Well, I think
So yet another women's match on the card for WrestleMania. This was originally going to be a 6-something. Now it's a 5-something, and it is Bayley defending against Sasha Banks, Lacey Evans, Tamina, and Naomi. Some tremendous talent in the ring from the SmackDown brand, and Bayley will have to defend against all at WrestleMania. Josh, what do you think?
The segment on SmackDown that opened the show with all of them was terrible, in my opinion. That is the nicest way I can say it.
Terrible why?
Terrible why? For starters, it seemed like you had Bayley and Sasha out there talking as though they were in an arena filled with people doing their regular, and it just, while it's already kind of difficult to listen to when there's that arena giving you the feedback, when there's no crowd there, it's again the complaint that I've had for weeks now is that the WWE has not done anything to alter their presentation. And I don't know who's to blame for that, but they came out there and they did a pretty poor job where it just seemed very written. It did not seem well performed in my opinion. But I think if I had that opinion, I do think some other people might have as well. I think when everybody came out there, it just didn't. The story wasn't being told well by the announcer. It wasn't like it wasn't gelling for me. And when you put them all in the ring, there was not a single part of that screamed star power or anything that enticed me for this match at WrestleMania.
Not even Naomi with the neon and the
gimmicks?
No, but here's the thing. Naomi coming out there, I think had the most energy of anybody there, but it didn't matter. I mean, Tamina was like a black hole of energy when she comes out there. Like I'm not. And again, this is not anything personal against her. There's just nothing.
How many of the girls actually get segments to talk? Very seldom are they ever given a time to shine. And again, all of those ladies have come out of the NXT. They've all out of the PC. You are taught to work the crowd and the audience. And when they're not there, it's like you have to reprogram everybody because they're waiting for that pop. They're waiting for that cheer. They're waiting for that pause to keep going. Along. And right now, they have nothing to play off of. And
and that's the
that.
problem with how they're being taught. In my opinion, that's the problem with how they're being taught. Because not to speak for an old timer, but any wrestler from even 15 years ago would be able to tell you that the way they came up, they'd go out, they'd feel the crowd. Well, if you go into an empty room, you're going to feel there's an empty room. Well, guess what you're going to do? You're going to look at that red blinking light and you're going to send it there. I mean, you look at guys like Jake the Snake Roberts just comes to mind because these incredible promos. He's still doing now with AEW. But that was a guy who would be so soft spoken and would look into the camera. There was no, standing in there and yelling with the audience. I know that was a different time, but
Well,
I mean,
it was
come
what
on.
he didn't say that you heard. And many say Jake
Exactly.
Snake Roberts, one of the best promo guys in the history of the business, still delivering, as you said, on AEW on Wednesday nights. But Josh, if you had to pick, does Bayley walk out still champion, or does one of the other four defeat her?
I think Bayley's going to walk out champion. I think that this whole thing is because of the virus. I think there would have been much more going on with her and Sasha had this not happened. But I think they're waiting for an audience with it. Maybe Sasha walks out and that starts their, something there. But I don't know. I'm going to stick with Bayley for now.
Jason Solomon.
Yeah, I concur with everything he said about that opening promo on SmackDown. I thought it was horrendous, and it goes to the whole formula. It's just they have their formula and they can't break it. And now that they're in a totally different environment, they maybe were trained a certain way. It's so awkward watching them out there. And it's the typical thing where, one person waits for the music to hit and the next person comes out. So there's no excitement for this Fatal 5-Way. The excitement is for Bayley and Sasha. And what my hope was for months is that they were building to a singles match at WrestleMania. And my understanding is they just felt like they didn't have enough time to really, because I think Sasha was hurt. And so that hurt things. And I get that. And if they want to take their time with it, that's great. That's why I think Bayley is probably going to retain. There's no need to rush this. They can really take their time like they have with Otis and Mandy, which I think is the best story that they're doing anywhere in the company right now. When you take the time to tell a good story, people will buy into it. So all the people in this match not named Bayley and Sasha are really just not even significant to the story I think that they're trying to tell, which is, if you watch the television show, Bayley is very distrustful all of a sudden of Sasha. You can see they're slowly building to something. That's the story I'm interested in. It could go either way, but I think you keep the championship on Bayley.
You know what I think they've done very good is the transition Bayley has made from that "I'm sick of you" face to, wait a minute, I like you heel. Like, I was so tired of Bayley. It was so cliche. Oh, her dream, her childhood. Here are pictures of her getting autographs. I stopped caring shortly after that was introduced. They've done a great job in transitioning her over to this role, and I think your points are very valid there, Jason. Andrew, SmackDown Women's Title 5-Way. What do you see happening?
Yeah, I think Bayley's going to retain. I think this whole thing is going to be a slow build towards Sasha and Bayley at SummerSlam. I think that was the plan all along. I don't think that you're going to see a one-on-one match at WrestleMania. They like to do this, planting seeds and then watching it grow and making you invest your time, effort, and money. And I think that's what they're going to do, especially with this match. And I mean, not to beat a dead horse, that opening was some of the worst television I've seen, but I think what this match is going to tell is the Sasha and Bayley story going forward and the cracks in their friendship, I think, and it culminates at SummerSlam.
Well, WrestleMania is this weekend, Saturday, Sunday. David, this 5-way match, Bayley defending her championship. We have an interesting comment from the Facebook world from a Cristobal Ward who asks and makes a prediction. I'm predicting that Nia Jax returns at WrestleMania and wins the SmackDown Women's Championship. We know you are a big fan of Nia.
I would love to see Nia Jax show up at WrestleMania. I don't think that's going to happen because the business they have to do on Saturday or Sunday, whatever night it's going to be, is Bayley and Sasha working together in unison to get rid of the other three girls. And then as the trust that Bayley has for Sasha grows, that's when Sasha takes out Bayley by the knees and becomes the new Women's SmackDown champion.
All right. Well, we got some differing opinions there finally. And thank you for that comment, Cristobal. That's a great name, Cristobal. You think that's what's on the BC, the birth certificate?
Absolutely. You couldn't make that up.
Well, you could if you really wanted to. Thanks for your opinions around the horn as well. We are going to transition now into hot news in just a moment. But first, want to tell all of you about new programming we have for you this week from the Pro Wrestling Report. It is WrestleMania week, so of course we are doing more for you. And we are pleased to bring you a brand new episode tomorrow night of PWR Reaction. And we did share earlier on our social media what the topic would be for tomorrow night on Reaction, and that is as follows. What is the best WrestleMania match ever and why? And you can go ahead and answer that question by sending us an email to reaction@pwr360.com. That's again, reaction@pwr360.com. You can also comment on our post seeking your questions on Facebook as well. You looking forward to answering that tomorrow night?
I can't wait to answer tomorrow night.
I'm sure you
I'm going to go in depth as to why.
So that's tomorrow night on Reaction, folks. Wednesday, we'll be back with you with another live edition of Primetime. But Thursday, another all-new show debuts this week. And I couldn't think of a better guest to join us as we premiere the inside story of wrestling. It's not speculative. It's not he said. It's not she said. It's from the people who lived those moments. And on Thursday's edition of the Inside Story of Wrestling, we will be joined by Barry Darso, who was Smash of Demolition, the Repo Man, and many others.
Crusher Khrushchev.
And we're going to ask him flat out what's going on between him and WWE and the Hall of Fame. How was it to wrestle in the back of a moving semi-truck? All of that coming Thursday as we go live with our brand new show, Inside Story of Wrestling with Barry Darso. And there'll be many more coming over the next few weeks. A bit of an in-depth focus piece on each of those talents as they join us here on PWR. And then, as we said, Friday, new Primetime. After SmackDown, brand new Reaction. After WrestleMania Saturday, a brand new Reaction Live. After WrestleMania on Sunday, a brand new Reaction Live. All live on Fight TV.
So when WrestleMania goes off the air, we're going to do it live.
We're going to do it live.
How about that?
Should I write it or will you write it?
You can write it. You're way better at that than I am.
Do you know what's going to play us out musically? To play us out?
No.
No, we'll just do it live. So we are going to take a timeout, and thank you for joining us for tonight's edition of Primetime Live. Obviously, we're going to take a very brief timeout. We can reset, get ready to bring you the comments that Roman Reigns made back to the haters, and details on AEW's just announced TNT Championship Tournament, along with the rest of the hot news. Drew, I hope you have some numbers for us tonight. And we have, well, so much. So why am I blabbering? Let's just take a break, and we'll be right back with the Pro Wrestling Report Primetime Live.
Collar and elbow bouts usually began as a contest of balance. The opening position or stance featured the hand and arm positioning which gave the wrestling style its name. Contestants faced one another, each placing one hand on his adversary's shoulder and gripping his adversary's forearm with his other hand. This establishes the opening box, prevents bull-like rushes or throat grabs, minimizes disadvantages in height or arm's reach, and prevents deft footwork. Here, the champion squares off with the challenger. Each holds the stance until his opponent forces or permits him to break.
Welcome back, fans, to the Pro Wrestling Report Primetime Live on Fight TV. Dameon Nelson sitting here alongside David Herro. We're also joined by our associates Jason Solomon, Josh Shernoff, and Andrew Baydala. And
It's
wow.
Baydala. Bay.
Can I say it how I want?
He got it right. He got it right. He got it right.
Baydala.
I thought they said
Yeah,
Baydala.
Baydala. It's like a brand, like a commercial or something.
Sounds like a cough drop when you do it.
I'm perfectly. Look, don't go getting people all panicked and worried out there.
Okay.
Oh,
Yes.
Thank you for joining us, guys, and we'll be back with you in just a moment when we get to hot news. But first, David Herro, you just saw that great spot from Collar and Elbow brand.
And
We are
if you-
pleased to
and
be
if
partnered
you
with
want
them.
the Ichiban collar and elbow shirt, go to collarandelbowbrand.com, use promo code PWR360 and save. There's some brand new Tiger King. Is that it? Or King
Oh, my.
Tiger?
We went there?
Who is that guy?
Joe Exotic?
Yeah, but it's a Tiger King, it's a Tiger King gimmick, and there's some new collar and elbow shirts inspired just by that Joker.
I want to actually ask y'all out there in the world. I assume we've all watched the Tiger King.
Actually, Drew, that's like
Unfortunately,
I
yes.
watched it.
Unfortunately, yes.
I have not watched it.
That's Drew's third cousin.
Right.
There is a connection. This isn't really off topic. He was involved in wrestling down in Oklahoma.
He ran some NWA shows.
But these people exist in this world, and some people are doubting whether they do. I don't doubt for 1 minute that everything they said happens in their heads in real life and that they believe it to be true. And yes, she killed her husband.
You know all that is real when Robbie E., Robert Strauss, Robert Stone has a picture with Joe Exotic on his Instagram.
There's the validation right there. Yes.
Insane. The most insane thing from that whole documentary was the guy who won the lottery and goes there 3 times a week, and he tells them, "You could take my money. I pay $600 3 times a week."
Yeah.
There it is, right? You have to be kidding me.
It was very Southern.
Yes.
Bless their hearts.
I lived in the South for several years. I can relate. I understand. But let's go to hot news, David Herro.
We got hot news.
Well, this one's going to be wordy. So Roman Reigns is advertised to be wrestling Goldberg at WrestleMania Saturday or Sunday. We know, because we told you, that Roman Reigns is not going to be in that matchup. WWE is still advertising him as being in that matchup, which I don't think is as dirty as some people say it is, because it's just like a TV show. If the character's going to be killed off in the episode, they're not going to tell you that when they advertise the episode.
Yeah, but
we have not. I actually don't know what's going to happen. I don't know who's wrestling Goldberg. I've purposely stayed away from that news because I don't want it spoiled for me. I know some of you know, and I've seen it out there.
It's Hornswoggle. Oh, wait, you didn't want me to say anything?
But who's talking up there? What's it?
That's me. That's me, Josh Shernoff. It says
Hi,
Shernoff
Josh.
Fight TV.
Sorry. Go ahead, Josh.
No, it's fine.
He said it was Hornswoggle. He spoiled it.
Oh, horny. Well,
how's he going to spear him? He's going to go right over him.
Well, folks, some people have taken to social media and have expressed their dissatisfaction with Roman Reigns for him not participating and electing not to go and be a part of WrestleMania. Well, Roman Reigns, while working out in his home on the gimmick, what's that gimmick called? You can just use it on your phone. Instagram, at PWR360 now on Instagram. Well, Roman Reigns had something to say. And we'll paraphrase a little bit his response to the quote-unquote people who have called him a sissy or a coward. And I quote from Roman Reigns. Are you ready for this, David? Are you ready for this, everyone?
Yeah, I can't wait.
All right. And I quote, "You already know what's going on. It's all over the news, the dirt sheets, whatever you want to call them, that I pulled out of WrestleMania. And it's funny, because for years, people have been like, don't show up to WrestleMania. We don't want you in it. You know what I mean? There's a handful of dudes and haters that didn't want me there. But the moment I make a choice for me and my family, I'm a coward. I'm a sissy. A lot of different things that I am now." He goes on, but how about that first opening segment, if it was? Jason, you look a little bothered.
Well, first of all, you're always going to have, I've encountered people on social media who probably have no business being on social media. I kind of think that you should have your social media license revoked. And if that were the case, there'd be a lot less people on there. So I saw what he said. And, first of all, to the people who are coming at him or bashing him and calling him this, calling him names, these people are fools. I mean, that's just plain and simple. He made a choice that he felt he had to make. And there's no reason. I mean, we got a very real situation going on in the world right now. Frankly, it's more important than professional wrestling. And I have no issue with Roman pulling out of the show. I'm like him. I think it's kind of funny because for years people would have begged and pleaded for him not to be in the main event. Now that he's not, people are coming after him for it. Some things are more important. And we know his health history because they made it public. And he's had 2 bouts in his life with leukemia, which is nothing to, it's nothing to take lightly. I mean, that's touched my own family. So that's a serious situation. He made a point in his video. He said, look, not everybody knows the full story. You don't know if maybe there's somebody, maybe an older family member who moved in with me. And, for their safety, I want to make sure I take, no chances. So I didn't have an issue with it at all. I applaud him for it. I think it took guts. because you're in the main event of WrestleMania. If I had to venture a guess as to what they look at as the real main event of WrestleMania, it's not Brock Lesnar against Drew McIntyre. It's Roman Reigns against Bill Goldberg. And he said, look, I'm out. I'm not doing it. Yeah. And so kudos to him for making that decision. I'm sure it wasn't, an easy choice for him to make. He's a company guy. Maybe he felt like he was letting the company down. You got to look after your own health. Without your health, you have nothing.
Well, Reigns would go on to say, you don't know the whole story, as you said, Jason. All you know is what you think. Oh, well, his health and this and that. But you don't know what else is going on in my life. You don't know if I have newborns. You don't know if I have family in my household, older family. So, yeah, like the old saying, go and flip that cover open and read a few pages. Get into a few chapters before you really start running your mouth, and just take this time to better yourself, be present, and make the most out of this, because we can't grow in a time like this. I don't think we have a chance, man. This is the most downtime I've ever seen in my life. So I just challenge everybody, and I'm taking the steps right here with you. I'm not perfect. I'm a hater too sometimes. But I try to always put in a perspective of why I want something or why I might be jealous of something. And then I put in my grind. I put it to work. I figure out how I can get whatever I need or want. And I put it to work, and I don't focus on others hating me. And I don't focus on driving negativity to anyone else. Andrew, what do you say about those comments from Roman Reigns?
Yeah, I think Roman gave you a glimpse into the real person there. I think everyone still is viewing him as Roman Reigns. This is a man who has a family, who, like Jason said, might have maybe his dad or older people living with him. I just think that people need to understand that Roman Reigns not only gave up a big spot in WrestleMania, gave up probably a ginormous paycheck, and also is doing this for him and his family. This is not a business decision. From what I'm reading and what I'm hearing, this is a personal reason, and he said that, and I give him a ton of credit, because there's not a lot of people in this world who would turn down the type of money nor the publicity that he'd be getting from this match. And I think it's something that we should all take note of, that we should be putting our families and our lives first before anything else, given this current climate.
David?
Roman Reigns has done everything the WWE has asked him from day one. He has been the ultimate company guy. He has gone out there for 2 or 3 WrestleMania main events, booed out of the building, still kissed all the babies, high-fived all the kids, did everything that was expected. And leave it to some idiot wrestling fans on the internet that actually get brave when they use the egg-shaped profile picture or a picture of Alexa Bliss with the tag name WrestleMark316, and they spout off. I highly doubt any one of those people would ever go up to Roman Reigns and call him a sissy or a coward to his face. So, I mean, I get it. He had enough, and enough was enough. And Roman Reigns, he put it out there and said, hey, I'm taking care of home, and if you got a problem with that, I don't need you.
Well, kudos to Roman Reigns. And again, I think the summary statement is nobody knows why he made whatever choice he made. Nobody knows why anybody made the choices they made. And why don't we just sit back and enjoy the show? Now, we did have another comment here about questioning whether or not WWE should still be actively advertising the match as Roman Reigns versus Goldberg, knowing that they've taped the show and that match did not happen. Let's go around the horn and find out what you guys think. Josh, should that match still be advertised as such?
Not at all. It shouldn't have even been advertised on the SmackDown.
Yeah.
It should have been. They should have edited that part out. It was pre-taped. The thing is, if it's TV and you're furthering a storyline, then so be it. If it's something where your plan is to take the guy out with an injury or do something like that, in the time that we're in right now, the last thing that anybody needs is to feel like they're being lied to, feel like they're being manipulated. And in this instance, while I do not believe this is the WWE's intention, but in this instance, they are lying and they are manipulating because they are taking fans, whether it's children or adults. What's that?
Those are bold words. Lying and manipulating.
Well, I'm saying they are, because here's the thing. You are promoting when you know that it is not going to take place. When you know 100%, because it is literally already come and gone and not happened. And you are choosing to promote it as though it is happening while you are selling for what? For $45 a night or so, or maybe
Price
or no, maybe it's $35.
$35.
$35 a night or something like that. You are selling pay-per-view buys. So that is false advertising. It's one thing to say that the card is subject to change. It's another thing when you have already announced in all other media outlets, everybody knows. Triple H even said it, like alluded to it. He wouldn't even come out and straight say it, but alluded to it in an interview. When you're doing all of that, that's just dishonest. And that's my opinion.
Card is subject to change, though. Andrew, what's your opinion? Should they be advertising this?
Yeah, this is a weekly episodic television show. So if there was no internet, you would have no idea that Roman Reigns was pulled. And you would find out when you were supposed to find out. I know, but what I'm saying to you is that, like, the WWE, I understand, has a responsibility, but they're on their storyline. They're going to get to where they're going to get to. They hit a bump in the road, and now they will take the final week or the final 3 days before WrestleMania, whenever that match happens, to change what's happening. And I don't think they're being dishonest or taking deceptive practices by still advertising this match. It's their plan, and they're going to see it through.
But if I may, they spent a lot of time on air talking about Roman Reigns' health.
Because that was in the can. That whole thing was in the can. Yeah,
but it wasn't directly live to tape in the sense that they couldn't throw something in there. They couldn't put something in that says, we wanted to, with the, even if they couldn't get them on camera, they can do a quick voiceover and they can say, due to the well-established health or whatever it is of Roman Reigns, we've decided in the WWE, put themselves over, that we're not going to risk his health and blah, 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 or anything like that. My only feeling is that there would be concern on their part that they're shining a light on the fact that they're risking everyone else's health. And that's the only reason I can see them not doing it. Otherwise, they would have made the announcement and built up to try and get some viewership. Hey, let's find out next week who it is who's going to take his place. But they didn't do that because.
But are they going to come out and say flat out, okay, Roman Reigns is no longer going to be a part of WrestleMania?
They should.
Is that their responsibility?
What are they going to do? What are they going to do? Roman Reigns is going to be. What are they going to have? Rikishi hit him with a car? Like, I mean, even that was down to the last
weird
second.
Because they're related.
And would have done it for another relative, and that's just absurd.
Jason, right or wrong, should they be advertising Roman Reigns as part of WrestleMania this weekend?
I don't think there's no easy answer to this, but I'm glad he mentioned the Survivor Series example with Rikishi, because that was an example of blatant false advertising. They knew in advance that Austin was not going to be able to wrestle on that show. And the big difference here that nobody has mentioned, that typically, and this is a unique situation, including that Survivor Series show and all the other times, believe me, that this company over the years, house shows, has false advertised people. No one is buying a ticket to this show. There are no fans in attendance. I would have a bigger problem with it if I had spent a lot of money, and I was not going to WrestleMania this year anyway, but I have been to the last, I think, 8 WrestleManias. If I had spent a lot of money to fly to Mania, and they knew in advance that one half of the main event was not going to be there, and they withheld that information, I would be very upset.
Yeah, but we wouldn't be in that situation. He wouldn't have backed out if we were.
Oh, we don't know that though. Well, we don't know that. I mean, maybe he would have had some other health concern. But let's just say he had some other health concern and he pulled out, but the company withheld the information. Then people would be coming at them rightfully with pitchforks and torches, as they should.
But even then,
yeah.
But even then, that's something where people have bought their tickets for WrestleMania to go to WrestleMania. 90% of the people, and that's a number I'm just pulling out of the air, 90% of the people who buy those tickets are buying for WrestleMania. They don't even know what matches they're going to be yet. I'm focused more on the pay-per-view buys.
This is still sports entertainment. This is still athletes going in a ring. Injuries happen. All these type of things happen.
Yeah, I question how many people are buying the show on pay-per-view. All this talk about pay-per-view, I would imagine the majority of people, I don't even know why you would spend $50 or $60 on this show when you can get it for $10 on the WWE network. I would imagine that the majority of people are going to buy on the network, and you get all the shows for free anyway. So I agree it's silly that they were advertising a match. I'm sitting there watching Roman Reigns against Triple H from WrestleMania 32 when I know Roman Reigns isn't even going to be on the show this year. It's silly, but I'd have a bigger problem with it if the circumstances were different and people were paying money to go to the show. That, to me, would be blatantly false advertising, which is never a good thing.
Fair point from all of you. David, you're the only promoter in the room. You have been in this situation before. You haven't booked Roman Reigns, but you've had to substitute with other talent.
Well, whenever I've been in this spot, especially when the main event is involved, you always got to let the fans know as soon as you can.
Yeah.
And then what you do is you offer refunds. 9 times out of 10, nobody ever takes them. But this is a
Well, let's be real though. Usually they don't tell you until you're in the building already. WWE does the same thing. I remember going to a show and Hogan couldn't make it here in Milwaukee. Howard Finkel did the announcement at the top of the show and said, "Hey, he was advertised. Hogan's not here. If you want to right now, before the show starts, you can go to the box office, get a refund."
Right. And I've done that before. Usually I like to give them at least a week's notice. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes there's travel issues the day of.
Yeah.
But they know. And now it's that fine line between sports entertainment and professional wrestling. Because, it's like you get upset when you're watching The Walking Dead and they promote that one character for the whole season, and then they're killed off, and then everyone's surprised. I don't think people are going to be truly upset about it because you still have John Cena, you still have Bray Wyatt, you still have Brock Lesnar, you still have Drew McIntyre, and everybody else. It's one piece of the puzzle.
It's a big piece.
But I was shocked when I watched SmackDown on Friday night, and they didn't mention it. I'm like, oof.
Last night on ESPN on WrestleMania 32, when they were broadcasting it, commercial after commercial, Reigns versus Goldberg. And again, I liken it to broadcast television. As you said, Andrew, it's an episodic television show. They don't spoil their own shows. They don't say that, Olivia's getting killed off on Scandal or whatever it may be, if that were to happen on that episode. So there's different ways to look at this.
I could see if it was Hogan versus Andre, and then you're worried about buy rates. But it's Roman Reigns and Goldberg, and I don't think that is the match that is. I don't think that is the match that is selling WrestleMania.
Well, in the interest of time, we still have to preview WWE Raw tonight. We'll table that conversation, continue listening and watching your comments on social media. Again, we're live on Fight TV, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. But earlier tonight, we shared with you the breaking news from All Elite Wrestling that they are introducing a new championship title. So I'm going to go ahead and share the press release with all of you here tonight, and then we'll get your thoughts really quickly on it. So this AEW has announced its first ever TNT Championship. It's a high-stakes 8-man tournament, which kicks off on Wednesday, April 8th. And that will be on the weekly AEW Dynamite show on TNT. Now, the single elimination tournament will feature the biggest names in AEW vying for the inaugural TNT Championship belt. Is this a television championship? Wrestlers in the first half of the tournament will be revealed this Tuesday, March 31st, which is tomorrow, on AEW's YouTube show, Dark. Second half of the bracket will be announced Wednesday, April 1st, on AEW Dynamite. So there is another title. Another championship in All Elite Wrestling. I liken it to the TV title. You say they need it?
Absolutely.
Please tell me more.
Because right now all you have is Jon Moxley with a title. And you have all these mid-card guys that are all stuck in purgatory as far as I'm concerned. One of them, they need to break one out so that everyone's not just chasing Jon Moxley, they can then chase somebody else.
All right, well, let's hear you guys' thoughts. AEW brand new championship, the TNT Championship. We find out the participants starting tomorrow. Andrew.
Yeah, I'm all for it. I think they needed it. I think they have a loaded roster with some talent that needs maybe the little bit of the push to the next level. MJF might be somebody, Sammy Guevara, all these guys who can put a championship on them and put the rocket to their back and see what happens. We'll have to see.
Did I hear someone say Sammy Guevara?
It wasn't me.
I love Sammy Guevara.
See, that's why you're here, Andrew. Good man. Sammy Guevara is amazing. You follow his YouTube channel? His social media?
Only when Joe Alonzo's on it.
Did you see that he did a gimmick with him and his cat, and then somebody did a meme, and it was him and it was Joe Exotic, Sammy Exotic, and you got it. It was funny. Josh, quickly, the topic at hand. AEW's new championship.
It's weird. I wish it would have been called a TV title, and I wish they would have had plates on either side that had TNT and Fight TV, and maybe some other places, because I understand their main contract is with TNT, but I mean, I have shilled AEW Plus enough to tell you, and by the way, I do believe in it, and if you go to fight.tv right now, you can subscribe to AEW Plus, but if you're in the UK, that's the only way you can watch AEW Dynamite. So now they're having a championship based off of the network that for a large portion of their audience is not even the network that they watch this on.
Paying them a lot of money, Josh.
How many
paying them
tens
a
of
lot
millions of dollars is TNT giving AEW?
Right, and I understand that. My question is, though, are they going to stay true and not defend this on pay-per-view, or because even
No, it
BR
won't be
Live,
the European Championship, but they'll be defended everywhere but Europe.
It's ridiculous. Also, by the way, I did just want to say that I have been on Sammy Guevara's YouTube show, and also I wanted to say that Jon Moxley had an elbow injury, had to pull out of All Out. And AEW did announce it as soon as they found out that they were going to have to pull him from it.
Because there was fans going to that.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Jason,
Regardless,
the AEW TNT Championship, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a long overdue move. I thought it might happen later in the year. The sooner the better. They have a lot of talent that's sort of, I don't want to say floundering, but they need something to fight for. To me, that's a championship that has Darby Allin's name written all over it. You know, Darby Allin, MJF. I mean, there's a lot of, look, they have Lance Archer there now. I think it's a positive move. And in this era of empty arena shows that may go on for who knows how long, it could be something to keep people, interested in coming back for more. So I think it's a good idea.
Doing a tournament makes a lot of sense right now, doesn't it, David?
Feels time.
Absolutely. It absolutely does. Before we get to Raw, a couple of big things happening on Raw tonight in just about 4 minutes' time. Josh, today, a brand new podcast debuted from the House of Shernoff.
Yes, it's called Mind of the Meanie. It's myself and the great ECW legend. You all right over there? Man, sometimes you enjoy a podcast so much that you just regurgitate.
David got choked up.
Mind of the Meanie, you can
I'm a little
go
worried for David.
at Mind of the Meanie on social media. We just released our Pro Wrestling Tees site, prowrestlingtees.com/Mind of the Meanie. But go wherever you find podcasts. We're still waiting for Google Podcasts to accept it, but everywhere else you can go and download Mind of the Meanie, myself and the Blue Meanie. We appreciate everybody's support of that, and it was a lot of fun, and we will be bringing it to you every Monday.
Awesome. Congratulations on that. Blue Meanie, our guest last Wednesday, right here on this very broadcast. And speaking of podcasts, Jason Solomon, the world already knows, but why don't you tell them again? You've got a big podcast that drops every Sunday.
Every Sunday on the Solomonster.com. Solomonster sounds off. We are in year 13 later this year. It'll be 13 years. And you can get it on all the, I'm an old guy. You can get on all the usual platforms, Spotify and Pandora, all that stuff, talking everything that you guys talk about, WWE, AEW, a lot of classic wrestling, looking back at the history of all that. So I've been doing it a long time. People seem to like it. They seem to want to just hear me blabber on for 2 hours about wrestling. So who might argue?
That's the Solomonster Sounds Off podcast. Andrew, what do you want to plug?
Well,
I don't have a podcast. Nothing.
Not yet.
he already has 3 kids.
Folks,
Crazy,
last
baby,
Friday
crazy.
night, obviously we had Superfans again, and remember, Superfans each episode rather, our top social engagers on each of our platforms are announced on the following broadcast as winners. And this past Friday on YouTube, congratulations to Raina Wright. On Twitter, Martin Duffin gets called out again here. And on Facebook, it is Ryan Cross. Your dear friend David here.
Ryan Cross?
Well,
He's a heel.
all of you who were just mentioned, send an email to superfan@pwr360.com. That's superfan@pwr360.com. And that one will coordinate your prize pack. That's when you tell them what they can win.
Oh, yeah, just shoot me an email. Superfan@pwr360.com.
1 minute away, WWE Raw tonight. The only thing they've told us is we're going to see Goldberg, we're going to see Undertaker, we're going to see AJ, we're going to see Edge, we're going to see Drew McIntyre, we're going to see everybody. What's your one takeaway we need to have on the Go Home Raw tonight on the USA Network, Andrew?
I'm looking forward to how they go forward with this Taker AJ Styles match, and I also want to see what Edge and Randy Orton get themselves into.
Jason.
Yeah, they kind of have to explain what a boneyard match is. I know AJ Styles the other day said, I don't even know what a boneyard match is, and he announced it. So I'm kind of curious about that. And also to see what Edge and Randy Orton have in store. That's the match that I'm looking forward to the most.
And Joshua, what's your one takeaway from Raw tonight that you want to see?
Show us tonight that you can put on a really good show without an audience, so that we know WrestleMania can be great.
Great point. Well, folks, thank you so much for joining us all over the world here on Fight. These hours just go by so quickly. Thank God we do it 3 times a week.
3 times.
Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, it's the Pro Wrestling Report, Prime Time Live here on Fight. Raw starts in about 5 seconds. Thank you so much to Jason Solomon, Andrew Baydala, Josh Shernoff, that one, this one, and all of you. We'll see you tomorrow for Reaction, where the question is, what is the best WrestleMania match ever and why? Send those right now to Reaction at PWR360.com, and you can be a part of tomorrow's live broadcast. Farewell, everyone. Enjoy Raw, and we'll see you tomorrow night on Reaction.